Hi, good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Gwen Gringheis. I am the Assistant Registrar International and Recruitment at the John H. Daniels Faculty of Landscape Architecture and Design. And I want to welcome you here, and I'm so pleased that you have joined us today. Now, I don't know where in the world you are joining us from, and so I will say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And so I will be turning it over shortly to Professor Peter Seeley to lead us through a presentation, but I wanted to go through just a few housekeeping details. If you have any questions at all during the presentation, we are very happy to answer your questions, and we will do so after the presentation has ended. And so at the bottom of your screen, there should be a Q&A button. And if you use that button, you'll be able to put your questions there. And after the presentation, we will be happy to answer those questions for you. So I'll pass it over to Professor Peter Seeley. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Gwen, for your kind introduction. And let me echo Gwen in saying good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, as the case may be. I'm going to try to give you an overview of what it's like studying at the Daniels faculty and give you a lot of information about our undergraduate architectural studies program. But I want to echo Gwen in inviting you to ask us questions today in this session. There's no question that's too simple or strange or far out or whatever. Just if there's something on your mind, please be sure to ask us because we're really happy. We're really happy to answer you. As Gwen mentioned, my name is Peter Seeley. I'm an assistant professor at the Daniels faculty, and I serve as the director of our undergraduate honors Bachelor of Arts Architectural Studies program. Now, what does that even mean? So, the University of Toronto is Canada's leading university, and it offers degrees in many, many, many programs and fields. There are all sorts of things you can study at U of T. Inside the University of Toronto, there's something called the Daniels faculty, which is where Gwen and I work. And we offer degrees at many different levels in architecture, in landscape architecture, in urban design, in visual studies, and that basically means art, and in forestry. And among all the things that we offer at the Daniels faculty, we have undergraduate degrees, and those are degrees, that's the first university degree for someone who has finished high school and now they're coming to university. And the largest of these undergraduate degrees that we offer is in architectural studies. And its full name is Bachelor of Arts Architectural Studies, and often we use the abbreviation BAAS for it. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about this morning. To introduce myself a little more, I am an assistant professor. I'm an architectural historian, so I write about buildings and I ask questions about why they are the way they are. I have taught courses in all the different programs at Daniels, but the undergraduate architectural studies program is the one I know best. Our undergraduate students at Daniels are fantastic. They are amazing. They are brilliant. I love teaching them, and I feel very privileged to lead this program. So today, I'm going to give you an overview of our program. I'm going to try to answer your questions as best I can. But maybe even more importantly, I want to start a conversation about why architecture matters and how you can contribute to shaping our buildings, our cities, and our landscapes. Now, this is a conversation that I'm really happy to start with you this morning over Zoom, but it's one that I really look forward to continuing in person when you become students at the Daniels faculty, hopefully next year. And I hope that this in-person conversation will take place in our wonderful building here at 1 Spadina Crescent. And on the screen, you see a model of the building where the Daniels faculty is situated. And it's a model that has been cut in half and then opened so that we're actually seeing a cross-section of the building and its many different spaces. And perhaps you can imagine yourself as one of those little plastic figures inside the building. You will share this space and this institution with a truly dynamic, diverse, and fantastic set of teachers, staff, and students who come from all over Toronto, from all over Canada, and especially from all over the world. Now, why study architecture? Many students are drawn to architecture because it is a profession which combines science and the humanities, calculation and art, building and design, computer software, and model making by hand. And we have built our architectural studies program to reflect our students' desire to combine all these different areas of knowledge and all these different ways of working. People study architecture because they believe that the spaces we live and work in matter. Good housing, well-lit schools, beautiful train stations, and sports facilities all contribute to making our everyday lives dignified and happier. I won't put any of you on the spot this morning by asking, but I'm sure that each of you can think of places which you feel are special. An apartment, a swimming pool, a garden, a restaurant, an airport. And by studying architecture, you can start to understand how the choices made by architects about the way spaces are organized, about the materials that are used, about the way a building is situated on a site, in a city, or a landscape, about how these choices actually shape the world around us. Architecture is absolutely crucial to combating climate change. The construction industry produces huge carbon emissions, and the buildings that surround us, the buildings which we inhabit, contain enormous amounts of embodied carbon. So, how we can reuse and adapt existing buildings, and especially how we can build new buildings with much better energy performance. These are crucial ecological questions today, and sustainability is a central focus of the BAAS program. Architecture is also at the forefront of experiments with new computer software, robotics, digital fabrication, and the development of artificial intelligence. The teaching we offer at the Daniels faculty is heavily focused upon technology. We want to learn how buildings are put together, how different materials perform, and how they can be adapted to meet new needs. More and more with each passing year and each passing decade, we come to live on an urbanized planet, meaning that most, but definitely not all, but most human beings live in cities or in their surrounding areas. And cities like Toronto are magical. They are very special places which bring together people from all over the world to live and work together. To adapt a common expression, a city is much more than the sum of its parts. But cities also require careful design and planning to make sure that millions of people can live harmoniously and thrive together. Urbanism, urban design, these are subjects which you will study at the Daniels faculty, and you will also do so right in the heart of Toronto, a city which in recent decades has become a really remarkable global metropolis. I could go on and on with reasons to study architecture, but I'll end with one more. Some buildings are new, but others provide us with very personal and tangible, so like you can feel, links to the past. It's a very special feeling to stand in a building and realize that your ancestors, that previous generations of humans have lived and used them. And one question that we try to ask, especially in many of our history courses at Daniels, is why are our buildings, our cities, and our landscapes, why are they the way they are? How did people in the past understand them? What did they think these buildings meant? And what is their meaning today? How do they speak to us? And how do they give us a sense of living in a continuously evolving society? The goal of the Bachelor of Arts Architectural Studies program at Daniels is to do two things at once. On the one hand, we will prepare you for future careers in architecture and similar careers such as landscape architecture and urban design. At the same time that we will also prepare you to be ready and to be able to move in very different directions if that's what you decide. In other words, the BAAS degree is the very best possible preparation, and it's the perfect first step towards becoming an architect. But it's also the best possible preparation for becoming a dentist. And I mean that quite sincerely. And if I take that example further, if you think of dentists both working with advanced technologies in x-rays and other tools, but if you also think of dentists doing lots of things carefully by hand, and if you think of dentists as people who need to be able to communicate very clearly to a wide range of members of the public, these are all skills that are central to an architectural education. So at the Daniels faculty, we are extremely proud of our graduates who have gone on to become architects and designers. But we're equally proud of our graduates who are now at law school, at medical school, in business, in the tech industry, in government. I could go on and on. The point that I really want to make is that an architectural studies undergraduate education is an excellent preparation for whatever it is you decide to do in the future. Studying architecture will help you to understand the world we inhabit, and it will teach you skills. It will introduce you to new ways of thinking, to techniques of working, which you can apply in almost any field of human endeavor. One of the most common questions that I get asked, and it's one I'm really happy to answer, is what kind of courses will I take at Daniels? And sometimes it can be hard to imagine the variety of things that architecture students are asked to do. In other words, the many different kinds of courses that architecture students will take. So let me try and help. And I'm going to do so right now by talking you through your first year in the BAAS program at Daniels. In both fall and winter, you'll have a design studio course. This is a course where you'll be in a group of about 20 or 25 students. You'll be taught either by a professor at Daniels like me, but often you'll be taught by an architect from Toronto who comes in for a day a week to teach at Daniels. And the idea is that in these studio courses, you will be learning the techniques of design, in other words, especially the kinds of drawings that architects make. And you will also be studying Toronto and learning to see the city as an architect does. In the fall, and again, I will say the course codes and names, and I can always later on be more specific, and you can find this information on our website. But more importantly, it's just to give you an idea of the different kinds of things you'll study in your first year. So in ARC 100, drawing and representation, you'll study a space in Toronto like a cafe or a shop. In other words, you'll be learning about the spaces that make up our city at the same time that you're being taught and you're being asked to make drawings to represent this space in the city. Then in the winter in JAV 101 Design Studio, you'll go through a variety of exercises, including making a short film in which you continue to study the city. And then you'll actually design a small building. So this will be the first building you design, and it will be on a site in downtown Toronto. Also, in the fall of your first year, you'll take ARC 180, Computation and Design. And this is where we start to teach you the computer software that are used by architects, as well as some coding. And we know that there are some people who might already be perfectly at home or very, very comfortable using Photoshop or AutoCAD or Rhino. But we know that there are others, and you're probably listening right now and maybe even a little bit nervous when you hear me mentioning software that you've never heard of before. And that's perfectly fine. The whole idea is we start at the level and with the knowledge that you bring when you come in, and we teach you how to use these software. But even more important than that, because to be honest, I don't think anyone can be certain exactly which software architects or any of us will use in 5 or 10 years' time. So, because of that, what we're really teaching you is how to learn new software. And we're very, very confident that our students are able and comfortable to adapt to the world of computation as it changes in the coming years. In both fall and winter of first year, you'll have a history course, JAV 151 in the fall and JAV 152 in the winter. And these are chances to learn about architecture as it has been in the past, to learn why the buildings that surround us are the way they are, and also to develop your communication skills through reading and writing. These courses, whether or not you're passionate about history, these courses are a great way to discover the world of architecture, to formulate your own opinions, and to test them out. Because the Daniels faculty also has many professors who teach visual studies, which again means different kinds of art and making. First year students in the architectural studies program take 2 visual studies courses. In JAV 120, visual concepts, you get introduced to a whole bunch of concepts and ideas and movements in contemporary art. And in JAV 130, which you'll take in the winter, which is called Visual Strategies, you will be introduced and work with many different mediums and ways of experimenting with making artworks that can express concepts. Also in the winter of your first year, you'll take ARC 181, Technologies of Architecture. And this is a course with I teach, and I'm very excited to have the chance to teach each of you in future. And it's a course where we look very, very critically and we think and we debate and we discuss many of the technologies that you're being taught in your other courses. To complete your curriculum, or to complete the schedule of courses that you're going to take in your first year, you'll also have an elective that you will choose, and you'll choose one in fall and one in winter. And so elective will mean any course from outside the Daniels faculty, which can be almost anything: calculus, computer science, business, literature, etc. This is a chance for you to pursue a passion that you may have. It's a chance for you to be introduced to all sorts of different kinds of knowledge. And it's a chance for you to pick up an even wider set of skills that you can apply in your life going forward. The result of taking these different kinds of courses, studios, computer software, history, art, technology, the electives, is what I think an example of the very best you can get from a university education. It's to develop different skills, to pursue varied interests, to use different parts of your brain. And at one moment, you might find yourself very frustrated with one kind of course because it's difficult and it's challenging. while another is very inspirational and it's going very well. And then they might actually flip a week or two later. But by having this variety of courses, you'll always feel like you're moving forward and you're gaining knowledge each week. In second, third, and fourth year, you'll have a similar mixture of courses. But the other thing that gets introduced after second year, and so again, this is something that we can talk about a lot more when you're first or second year students at Daniels. But it's important, I think, for me to introduce it now because it helps talk about the breadth of what we offer at Daniels. And this is what we call the streams. So every student who comes to Daniels, they begin in something called the comprehensive stream. But after second year, you have a choice. You could stay in the comprehensive stream, and I'll talk more about it in just a moment, or you can apply to move into either the design stream, the technology stream, or the history and theory stream. And I'll explain each of those in a second. The idea with the streams is that each of the four streams has its own list of required courses of things you have to do in third and fourth year to complete your degree. It's a really simple idea. It's just to say, oh, there are some students who, after their first 2 years, they realize that they're entirely passionate about technology. They want to do a lot more work in robotics, in building sciences. They want to understand how building structures work. And so we've got this stream where they're required to do a lot of those kind of courses. And there are other students who realize that their passion is in history, it's in reading and writing about architecture, it's in thinking and communicating critically about buildings. And therefore, by choosing the history and theory stream, their requirements, the courses they have to take, will be mostly those kind of courses. So again, the streams are something which determines what kind of courses you take in third and fourth year. Everyone starts in comprehensive stream and you can stay in it, or you can decide to apply to switch into one of the other streams. So the design stream has a heavy studio focus in designing architectural projects. We have great studios where you're asked to design a variety of different buildings. And it really pushes students in pure design in the best way possible. As I mentioned just a second ago, the technology stream really focuses on computer software, on robotics, but it also focuses on building science. So things like the structure or the ventilation or the electricity in a building, all these technological elements of architecture. The history and theory stream, again, really pushes you with your writing and your communication skills. For some people, this is a preparation, perhaps, to become a historian, like I am. And for others, it's just an excellent vantage point for thinking about buildings and cities. And then finally, the comprehensive stream, among its strengths, first of all, it's really great for allowing students who choose to get other credentials from the University of Toronto. And by credential, I can mean things like a major or a minor. And I know these might be new words for many of you, and it's a bit complicated, but essentially you can imagine coming to the University of Toronto saying, I want the architectural studies degree, but I also really want to take a lot of business courses. And so therefore I want a minor or maybe even something called a double major in commerce. Or someone else might want to do the same in computer science. Or there might be a student who realizes that they want to take their knowledge of architecture, but they actually want to go to medical school and become a doctor, and then they can work on how buildings help or hurt human health. And so that student is saying, look, by being in comprehensive stream, I'll have the time in my schedule to take the pre-medical courses that I need. The comprehensive studio has its own, the comprehensive stream has its own design studio that you'll get to take, which is quite unique. And it has certain special courses that are just for comprehensive stream students. So it definitely has its own identity and purpose as well. Having just spoken about our first year courses, having given you a quick overview of the streams, I now want to talk to you about a few of our special offerings. And these are mainly offered in third and fourth year, but I want to tell you about them right now because they're a big part of what we do at the Daniels faculty. So first of all, we have a really successful internship program called DRIP, D-R-I-P. The acronym stands for Daniels Research Internship Program. And every summer, we place about 20 or 30 of our undergraduate architectural studies students in paid internships with the leading architecture offices in Toronto. We are extremely proud of this program. It's been very successful, and it allows some of our students to get a very important first taste of professional work in architecture. So it's a really valuable experience. And DRIP is deliberately set up. It's a paid internship. You also get course credit for it. And that means that international students who are in Canada on a study permit can also take this and can also apply for it. We also have a number of summer design builds. And a design build is a course where the students work together as a group with a professor. They work together to design a project and then they build it, often in Toronto, but sometimes elsewhere in Ontario or Canada. The results are almost always stunning, and it's a really special moment for students where they step out of the classroom, they use so many of the skills that they've learned, but now they're actually making the thing that they're designing. So they're understanding how you put pieces of wood together and how you make a structure that will stand up, and especially how you can make an object that will be beautiful in a real world setting. We also offer a number of studies abroad courses every summer, and this is a personal passion of mine. Each summer, I take students to Berlin in Germany for a course that focuses on film and architecture. And here you see Daniel students making a film with an analog, so a film 16 millimeter camera in Berlin. And other destinations for our summer courses have included Athens, Costa Rica, Ghana, Morocco. They're really fantastic, and it's a great opportunity for our students, first of all, to travel and to see somewhere else. And it's also a great moment for our students and professors to spend time together talking about architecture, but in a very different context. Now, where will you find our graduates? Many recipients of the BAAS degree will stay at Daniels and they'll move on to a professional Master of Architecture or Master of Landscape Architecture degree. You will also find our graduates at other world-leading architecture schools in the United States, in Asia, in Europe, etc. Our graduates are extremely successful at making their way in the world of architectural education. You will also find our graduates all over the world in all sorts of different fields, as I've mentioned, from real estate to the tech industry and user experience design. You will find our graduates in history PhD programs. You will find them working for cities and other levels of government. You will find them in medical and law schools. And we strongly believe that we offer with our undergraduate the best possible preparation for both of those ways of moving forward. The last thing that I'm going to cover in my presentation, and let me thank you for your patience so far. I'm going to talk a little bit about our application. So the way you apply to come study at the Daniels faculty is, first of all, there's a standard application process where you give information about yourself and you submit high school grades, etc. And if you have any questions about this, we're really happy to answer them and to provide you the support that you need. But what I want to focus on this morning are the supplemental or the extra parts of our application. Because once you've applied, you'll actually then be asked to do two things. One of them is optional, but the other is required. The required part of this is called the one idea essay. It's a short text of a few hundred words. And what happens is you are given a list of different questions or prompts. You choose the one you want to answer, and you write us a text to answer this question. In so doing, it's a chance for you to tell us about yourself and your interests, and it's also a chance for you to demonstrate your writing and your communication skills. So that's required. But there's also an optional part, and that's if you want, you can submit up to 6 images of work that you've done. Now, there are many other architecture schools which require a portfolio, and we don't at Daniels because we recognize that some students have had fantastic art courses in high school, and others, their high school might not even offer art classes. Some students have a passion, and it might be playing the violin or it might be playing volleyball that actually does not translate very well into a portfolio. Whereas other students might have been making sculptures for 10 or 12 years or paintings, and they've got a huge amount of visual work they can show us. So that's why we make images optional. And it's up to you if you want to include them or not. So then, how to decide? Here, you really have to think yourself, are there things that I've done and things that I've done for which I have images and I'm proud of them. And I'd really like the people who look at my application to see these and to be able to consider them. My one suggestion is please don't feel that you're limited just to artworks. Of course, you can show us drawings and paintings and images that you've made or sculptures. But if you've been to a science camp and you made a rocket, then perhaps you could draw us a diagram of how that rocket works. Or if you're passionate about cooking, perhaps you could share photographs of your different experiments with recipes. In other words, think about your own passions and think if there's a way for you to represent these visually in a way that shows your creativity and gives us a better picture of who you are. But remember that this is optional and it will not be held against you at all if you do not submit any images. This now brings me to the end of my presentation. I'd like to thank you all for listening and for your attention. I will now hand things back to Gwen, who is going to moderate a question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions at all for Peter, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we will be able to take those questions live. I am going to stop the recording now, so if anybody is watching this recording and they do have questions and you want to follow up, you can send us an email, and I'm just putting that in the chat. It's futurestudents@daniels@utoronto.ca, and we would be more than happy to answer your questions.